There's a huge announcement going on with in Australia. We are taking over one of the biggest hotel groups in Australia. How's the Mantra acquisition going? And you must be excited about it.
Well, I'm excited about everything, certainly excited. Any new acquisition we make is a new venture. It's actually a new risk, but it's a good adventure. Mantra is very powerful. I was there myself a month ago. So I went to the Gold Coast for the first time in my life, which I wish I would have stayed there kind of actually 2 weeks, but the brand, the people, the network, the quality of the units, extraordinary. I was very pleased. It's extremely complementary to our core existing network. And I think what we're going to be able to provide to the guests is one of a kind. So New Zealand, I need to go to New Zealand next time, so invite me there.
Yeah, well, you've got so many fantastic properties in that part of the world. You've got a very robust pipeline in that part of the world, but I guess it gives you some great scale, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, we do open like 260 hotels a year, which is one new hotel every 30 hours. Half of them happen to be in Asia Pacific, because this is where we have the fastest growth in terms of opportunities. Many of it in Malaysia, Indonesia, Southeast Asia, and obviously Pacific. China is also a big market for us. But I guess without discounting what could be done in the Gulf, what could be done in Africa, what we're doing now in South America, we made a big acquisition last year of BHG in Brazil. We're still growing fast in Europe. So yeah, it's as I've been telling many of you, it's a blessed industry in which what I call the big gorillas, the 5 American, the 2 Chinese, then one Accor being non-American, non-Chinese. We have an enormous field for us to really equip, and it's both for intra-domestic travelers as it is for being recipient of international travelers. So the next 20 years is going to be extremely good, extremely solid. You just have to watch out who's going to be benefiting from it and who's going to be losing, because you're going to have different categories.
And we look at global M&A, right? We say, okay, so you've grabbed Mantra, you had Fairmont Raffles as well.
Yeah.
You've also tapped into some of the hottest hotel brands that people didn't really get a chance to get into, 25 Hours and Mama Shelter. You've obviously got Joe and Joe coming, but those 2 brands are doing some fantastic hotels, aren't they?
The answer is yes, yes, yes. I adore them, I love them, but gosh, do we need to protect them? Which is why we actually came in with a very kind of actually small equity investment, 30-35%. We do have the right to come up for 100% if and when we desire. But in order to actually protect those brands, make sure the management who created those remain in place. So full autonomy, full independence, bring them what they want from Accor, which is reservation system, loyalty system, big brother arm, financials muscle, sourcing capacity, but don't interfere in their life, because why they're so successful? Because they're very different, because they're trendy, because they're sexy, because they are modern, because they are fresh, because they are in the hands of entrepreneurs who actually feel and act very differently from me. So it's a big equilibrium between how do you respect them, at the same time how do you help them to grow, but don't push too many things on them, because they won't cope with 20 hotels opening a year, because if they do, we're probably going to be destroying a bit the purity of the brand.
And obviously you're then taking those brands globally as well, aren't you, at the same time?
Well, we are, but again, we are seeking permission first. I'm never going to be putting Christopher from 25 Hours or the Trigano from Mama Shelter to do something they don't want to do. I think it'd be a huge mistake. And they are hyper selective. I mean, the guys in development for us, Gaurav Visham, is probably throwing at them 20 opportunities every 2 months, of which they select maybe 1, which is okay. And at the end of the day, what you want is that brand awareness to exist as something very strong, very appealing. And even if they have a network of only 9 or maybe 25, at the end, I'm actually totally okay with it. I just want to make sure we can actually get them to come to the big gateway cities in the world, whether it is Sydney or Bangkok, or Dubai for that matter, because those cities deserve to have a Mama Shelter in 25 hours.
So it's almost being as selective as you do when you do a luxury project then, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, luxury product is something vastly different. Today, Accor is the 2nd largest luxury operator with 600 hotels. We were nowhere like 5 years ago. But let's face it, you have also to admit that we didn't have the brand awareness, or even the brands to start with, to be an active player. So if you really want to be of luxury services, then you need to acquire existing brands with an existing expertise. And Fairmont and Raffles and Swiss Hotel and Banyan Tree for that matter, and Rixos in Resort, they do have that talent. So the name of the game for me is make sure you keep the general manager, make sure you keep all the commercial people, because they have something we didn't have before, and make sure we learn from them so that I guess we get better. And we probably can teach them what we do on selected service and low mid-scale economy hotels, because we know really how to get net profit to the owner.
And you're also protecting your staff here in terms of one of the biggest issues is HR in the industry. You're giving Accor staff more opportunities globally to do more exciting projects, aren't you?
Well, answer is yes, and something you probably don't know, and it's worth talking about it. We happen to be in 99 countries, and we happen to have 270,000 people. What people don't know, which is frightening, we Accor hire every year 80,000 new employees. Accor loses every year 50,000 employees. We actually train for 3, 4, 5 years, and they move away because they actually feel they want to work for another company, or they're actually away from hospitality because they've learned how to be a chef, they've learned how to actually be a plumber, which is a great thing. But think about hiring every year 80,000 people. Accor may be one of the few employers on the planet hiring so many people, which by the same token, when we go to Saudi Arabia, when we go to Iraq, when we go to Peru, to Chile, Colombia, to Burma, to Vietnam, Accor is known as an academy to really provide jobs for those who don't have any education, which is why we actually work hand in hand, not only with owners, but with government officials, because we do give a chance to many people, which is what I like about my business.
And Accor in Asia Pacific is one of the most well-known hotel employers in the industry as well too, in terms of a hospitality.
Well, we are, because what people also are so confused about is Accor, 80% of our network is operator. So we are manager, i.e. we have full responsibility for people on the ground. So we manage today 250,000 people. Most of the competitive set, whether it's Hyatt, Hilton, Intercon, Marriott, 50-60% of what they do is franchisor. I.e. they don't manage the people on the ground, the franchisee do, but they provide brand traffic, loyalty. So it's a different model. I'm not saying their model is better, mine is worse. It actually depends on where you are. But clearly, mine is more cumbersome, but I'm much closer to the culture. I have a much better grasp, market intelligence, which is probably why Accor is developing so fast. Because when you happen to be in 99 countries for 20, 15, 40 years, I happen to know people in Australia for 40 years, and there's this trusting relationship and this risk premium where we assess the risk probably faster, better than somebody else who's never been operating in that country.
I enjoyed your stat on stage today about the $1 trillion industry, and I think it's a stat that not many people look at, is it?
No, I mean, I guess I was doing the math some months ago, and I realized that behind Accor network there is $100 billion of real investment, and clearly on the stage today, probably $600 or $700 billion was behind all of our brands. And people lose sight of this because at the end, you have actual people risking dollars or euros in creating a hotel out of nowhere, betting on a brand, betting on an operator or on traffic provider, and basically make sure they're going to be paid off for the risk they're taking. So it's a fascinating industry and people actually don't look at us as being capital intensive. We're all shying away from it for the right reasons, but we're shying away because we have buddies of ours really taking that risk on our behalf. Yeah. So don't ever lose sight that I guess you owe that someone taking a risk a return on his money.
And given the size of that industry, how is your challenge going of attracting the travelers before they travel? We talked about it last year.
That works well. I mean, anything which is before the stay, after the stay, thanks to digital, anything which is done through mobile app, I can give you plenty of info when you land, what's traffic look like, what's taxi you should be taking. I know how late you're going to be. I'm going to send you an SMS. Don't panic. Don't worry. We hold your room for you at midnight. So that works extremely well. What we need to do better is during your stay, how could we be meeting more often without intervening in your life? And same thing, and giving you all the digital tools for you to be able to be seamless in terms of actually travel experience. But I need to interface with you because the one thing which I've been saying on the stage here, which people also have to appreciate, the difference between the old economy and the new economy. The new economy being Facebook, Amazon, Google, Alibaba, Tencent. They've never met you. They know you inside out. Everything about you. They push info to you so that I guess you can actually spend, but they never met you as a person. In our industry, we meet you every time you come, maybe 20 times a year between 5 hours and 72 hours. So the quality of my interaction with you is vastly different than the one from the new economy, which is why I'm saying our two paths will cross because they're going to need that interference. They're going to need that data I have because it's very complementary to their data. And they will never do my job because my job means labor intensity, capital intensity. So, which is why I don't want Accor to be a technology company, an IT company, because they do it very well. I want Accor to be a people servicer.
And how are the other disruptors coming? How is the hotels by the hour concept coming along? We saw a bit of growth in it, nothing major globally yet.
No, it's going to work. I mean, why do we have to impose on people to stay for one night? I mean, that's probably old days. If you want to use a room for 5 hours because you only want to take a shower, why don't we think about it? The problem is, how do we commingle you asking for 5 hours and somebody else for 24 hours, and I'll probably make more money for somebody at 24 hours while I need to let you use it for 5. So we need to adjust, but why do I have to actually impose on you that your massage is at 11 o'clock in the morning when you called at 5 p.m. the day before? No, you want your massage now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that I guess if we want to be client-minded, we'd better adjust to what you want. And you know, there's a say which says for the millennials is, I know what I want and I want it now.
And it's very true, a lot of hotel companies don't look at that. In terms of your targets going forward, how are you attracting the millennials even further? You're getting into the right brands like we were talking about, Joe and Joe, how are you doing that?
Well, we're doing it at first listening. And I guess I have the utmost respect for Airbnb, always did, always will have. But they're actually providing something which has been working, which is a third less expensive, a third more spacious, and kind of actually a third more fun because it is non-standardized. So you need to basically piggyback on what is it that I should be adjusting in my own format. A third cheaper, I can't do this to you. A third larger, I can't because my room are constrained. So we thought about it the other way by saying, well, maybe I should not force you to enter a room. I should actually sell you a bed with no partitioning. That's called Joe and Joe. Everything is on rolls except the toilets because I need vertical plumbing. But I'm going to give you, whether you come with a group of 2, 3, 4, 5, the space you want, probably a larger space. You're going to pay by the bed, same price as Airbnb, and you're probably going to have more fun, more security, because you're going to be meeting other people in the same physical location. You really don't when you go to an Airbnb apartment. You don't know who lives upstairs and downstairs from you. And they'll give you entertainment and food and beverage and interaction with the locals. So that's worked actually very well.
It's interesting because you're disrupting the hostel industry, not for the first time, because Ibis was the real first disruptor, Ibis Budget in that space. So obviously this is one that everyone should pay attention to, isn't it?
Anything which is client first and client minded, pay attention to it. We have so many information on everyone that actually we know what client wants. But we're being so much centric on ourselves, we've been pushing our brand and product to people as opposed to actually listening to what they want and invent to respond to them. So that's basically a 360-degree shift. Everyone is doing it now. So I guess Accor is no better than anybody else's. I'm just saying Accor may be more daring than somebody else's because we're probably going to be failing in many of those, but we would have tried.
Yeah, and last but not least, we're going to be broadcasting this interview at the Australasian Hotel Industry Conference Exhibition in Melbourne. And what's your message to the industry down under? What message do they take away from having a catch up with you?
Well, the message I have to take away is, as I said, is that anybody who's constructing a brand portfolio has to be looking at it as we are, as a group of friends. I have many friends, and each of those friends I have an occasion to meet with. One is because I need to work with him, and I enjoy working with him. One is because I need to have a solid drink with him. One is because I need to visit a country I don't know the culture. A brand of Accor is one occasion for people to go to walk, to talk to work, cool time, fun time, discover time. That's what brand portfolio means. So look at the brand as a person, because if you want to meet me again, you might as well actually meet me as a person in a Mama Shelter in 25 hours. You're going to remember me and remember the brand. So it's all experience. You travel because you want to be transformed. You want to come back from Australia. I've been there, and I wish I can come back more often. No one could say when you leave Australia that you haven't been immensely shocked in a positive manner by people you've seen. I mean, Australian people are so nice people. You just enjoy the time you spend over there. You go to Malaysia, you probably have a different feeling. You go to Chile, you will always remember what you've been doing in Chile. You're going to remember the food in Lima. So traveling means you coming back richer intellectually.
And you're taking a lot of the Australians to Paris with you as well. You've got some of the best Aussies running your company around the world, don't you?
What do you mean? They run the French company. I mean, I guess Accor is now an Australian-based run company, and I adore them, so they're very good.